As you know from a previous video, a while ago I found two subwoofers in the trash. This is the second one of the two. This is the Vivanco model Thor 2.1 250p. Now 2.1 of course stands for what it once was, a 2.1 computer audio system. The 250p certainly doesn't stand for the output power. This is not going to do 250 watts, that's for sure. So, doing the knock-knock test. This is good for boom, 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 but certainly not for reproducing low audio frequencies. The speaker is relatively nice, rubber surround, and it's quite stiff. So this should have some power to it, actually. As we turn it around, on this side we have the port. Quality, once again, is kind of low, as you can tell. That thing just comes straight out. On the back is where it gets interesting. Here is some more information right there. And here we have, well, the control and input-output panel, basically. So we have a power cord on this one that's permanently attached. That's not so great. However, we have a real proper power switch. That's nice. That's really nice. There's the audio input, regular 3.5mm jack. Audio output are two RCA jacks, which is kind of uncommon here in Europe. And then we have up here volume control, treble control, and a bass control. And then a little green power LED right there. And that's it already. I'm kind of disappointed. That's why I took the whole thing apart in one go, because there really isn't much special to this. Here we have the box, typical MDF, cheap, hot glued together. There is the obligatory plastic trim piece. Took off the bottom feet. I can use those on my Toshiba PT884 reel-to-reel because the original feet on that thing are deteriorating. Here we have the speaker, and this, I haven't measured it yet, so I don't know if it's blown. It's a 4 ohm speaker, and I gotta say, this is actually quite a nice one. You can see it's really heavy, decent sized magnet to it, and rubber surround as I already said, so this thing, well, it's certainly nothing special, nothing high-end. It's good enough to go into the parts bin. And then over here we have the most disappointing part, the electronics. Why is it so disappointing? Well, they have some good components in here. Unfortunately, they combined them with some really crappy components, and so the end result can only be crappy. So, on the positive side of things, we have the amplifier chips. These are, look at them, take a guess, what are these? You're most likely correct, these are indeed TDA 2030 non-A's. These are, now these two over here, these two are UTC 2030s. So this is a Chinese copy made by Yuwang Electronics of the original TDA 2030. And then right there we have a genuine ST Electronics TDA 2030. As I already said, these are not the A version, so the difference between the original, the non-A, and the later A version are the A versions are rated for a higher input power, and consequently they can do a higher output power. The TDA 2030s are rated at 14 watts, and the 2030As are rated at 18 watts. Interestingly, the Chinese producer of these two guys claims that these can do the full 18 watts. I don't quite believe that. I think what they did, knowing that these chips cannot get up to their rated power, they used those for satellite speakers, and then they used the genuine ST Electronics 2030 for the subwoofer. This is in fact for the subwoofer. This is the output wire going to it, so I guess these are going to have a somewhat weaker output power than this one, which kind of makes sense. These are only for the satellite speakers. and this one is for the woofer, so it has to have a lot more power. Over here we have fuses. That's nice to see. Tiny little rectifier bridge. Can't expect much, I guess. We have some filter capacitors. Yeah, 4700 microfarads at 25 volts. That makes sense. Have the tone controls right there. Little... Wait a minute. Okay, so for volume and... okay, so I guess the bass control really only regulates the output volume that this one does, so they don't have to have a stereo potentiometer. Well, that makes sense. There is our input jack right there, output jack right there, all covered in hot glue, so I can't take this thing apart. Got a decent selection of components on there, low wattage. And then a little op amp, which, you know, is sort of the active crossover for the satellites and the subwoofer. Now, why is this crappy? Well, because of that thing right there. This is a tiny little transformer. Output voltage 13 volts times 2. Electrade micropower. Yeah, micropower is the right term for this thing, because this is going to be outputting a micropower. Interestingly, this whole thing is rated at 69 watts. It takes a maximum current of 0.3 amps, which equals 69 watts. That makes 23 watts for each of these chips. And I guess you can all tell that cannot be accurate. I don't know what they did there, but I'm pretty sure if you're trying to get almost 70 watts out of this tiny micropower transformer over an extended amount of time, this thing's probably going to start to burn. They are limiting the potential of these chips. As I already said, these are 14 watts, or, you know, should be 14 watts. So this thing is certainly not going to be able to deliver the kind of power that these could output. You can also kind of tell by the rectifier, because otherwise they would have chosen some bigger diodes for higher currents. Filter capacitors might actually be okay. So anyway, basically I'm going to keep this circuit board right here, and using a different transformer and a somewhat upgraded power supply section, I should be able to actually turn this into something usable, something nice. Using a bigger subwoofer, using some decent satellite speakers, this could be a nice system. Once again, these TDA 2030s, you know, they are nothing special, but for what they are very good. There you have it. Once again, as I already said, there's not a whole lot to this. I'm not sure if there is a fuse inside. There should be a fuse inside. Well, you know what? Let me just check that. Yes, indeed, it is a fuse holder. It's quite a nice one. Screws together, as you can see. There's a thread on this one. Inside is a 500 milliamp fuse, which, well, I don't know how useful that would have been. So, I mean, until that thing blows, the transformer would have to take a whopping 115 watts. So, yeah, either this is going to short out completely, or it's just going to be burning without the fuse doing anything. So, could have done that one better. Well, at least it does have some protection. I'm not going to complain. So, yeah, anyway, that's that. That was the Vivanco Thor 2.1 250p. And once again, also looking at this, certainly nothing to do with 250 watts. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you again soon.